All right, we are going to be going over the answers to our statistics check-in study guide that we just should have already completed. You should not be watching this video if you have not yet completed it. I want you to complete the study guide on your own, or at least all the problems that you can do on your own, and then use this video to check your answers. Okay, this first top part is going to talk about vocabulary. We have a word bank down here at the bottom that we can choose from to fill in these blanks. Each word will only be used once. The average of numbers in the data set. To find this, you add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers you have in the data set. That is our mean. The smallest number in the data set. That is our min. Largest number, max. Notice how I'm crossing these off so I know which ones I have left. The middle number in a data set, to find this, you list the numbers from least to greatest, cross off each side till you get to one number in the middle. If you're left with two numbers in the middle, you add them up and divide by 2. That is our median. Remember, our median is also our quartile too when we are doing a box and whisker plot. The number that occurs the most often is our mode. Remember, our number in the middle has a D in the middle. Our number that occurs the most often has an O in it, mode, most often. The median of the lower half. So we split that data into two parts. We made our lower group our upper group. Then we find the median of that lower group. That is called our Q1, or our first quartile. The median of the upper half, when we split that data into two groups, and we find the median of that upper half, that is our Q3, or our third quartile. Last but not least, this tells how much the data set varies. You find this by subtracting the min from the max. That is our range. Just a little vocab also helps us throughout the rest of the study guide if we forget what any of these words mean. A group of parents were interviewed about the amount of money spent on fast food every month. We're going to label the box and whisker plot with the 5-number summary. This dot over here is going to be our min. The dot way over here is going to be our max. Those are what our whiskers go out to, our min and max. Inside our box, we have our quartiles. So we have Q1, Q2, which is also our median, and Q3. We then want to answer a few questions about our box and whisker plot. So blank is the minimum value of the data set. That dot goes right here on this tick mark. We're counting by tens, so a tick mark in between would be counting by 5s. So that would be 15 is the minimum. The median, so we're looking for the Q2, is at 40. The Q1, the lower quartile, is 30. What percent or fraction of the data is below $40? Okay, remember each part of these box and whisker plots is 1/4 of our data. So this is 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Or you can talk about percent, 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. So what fraction of the data is below $40? $40 is here. We're going below $40. We have two parts, which is 1/4 plus 1/4, which is 2/4, which is equal to 1/2, or we have percents, so it's either 1/2, or if we're doing percents, 25% plus 25% is 50%. Since that's our Q2, that's exactly in the middle, so half of our data is below it. What percent of fraction of the data is above $30? So here we have $30. We have 1, 2, 3 parts that we are talking about. So that is going to be 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. Or if you like percents better, 25% plus 25% is 50%, plus 25% more is 75%. All right. These are the questions that I see students struggle with the most on this material. So just make sure that makes sense to you. Each part is 1/4, or each part is 25% in between each of those pieces of data. All right, we're going to use this histogram to answer the following questions. How many students are in the class? Well, we have to see how many students are in each bar. So here we have 6, here we have 5, here we have 7, Here we have 4, and here we have 2. We would then add up all these numbers. I would group them together. So like 6 plus 5 is 11, 7 plus 4 is 11, 11 plus 11 is 22, plus 2 more is 24. So there are 24 students in this class. How many students own 10 or more video games? So here is where 10 starts. We want 10 or more. So we have 7, 4, and 2. So we have 11 plus 2 is 13 students. What is the difference? Difference means subtract. Keyword. In the number of students who own 0 to 4 games, which is 6, and 15 to 19 games, which is 4. So we would subtract 6 minus 4 to get 2 students. Is the difference. All right. Moving on past our histogram. 3 types of shapes of distribution. We have symmetrical. Okay, that's when we outline that data, it is like a perfect little bell shape. Okay, we have skewed right, meaning that that tail is going to be on the right. So that tail is over here. Most of our data is on the left. We have skewed left, which is the opposite of skewed right. That is when our tail is on the left, so most of our data is on the right. Looks something like that. Use a dot plot to answer the following questions. Now, in a dot plot, each of these dots represents a data value of the number below it. For example, there's 0, 0, 0. There's 3 zeros in this data set. So we want to find the mean, median, mode of this data set. And in order to do that, we have to list at least 2 greatest. So we have to write out this data set. So we have 0, 0, 0. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ones. I'm going to count that one more time to make sure. 8. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 twos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 threes. 1, 2, 3, a 4, and a 5. Our mean, we're going to add up all those numbers together. What I like to do is just add up each number together so I have less numbers I'm putting into my calculator. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ones, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 worth of twos because I had 6 twos. Remember, my zeros I don't have to add, I have to count them in my number of data values, but 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. I have 3 threes, which is 9, and then I have a 4 and a 5, which is another 9. Now in my calculator, I can just add up these numbers instead of having to put in that whole entire list. It makes it a little bit easier to not make a mistake. So that should be 38. We then have to count up how many data values we have all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We take 38 divided by 22, and we're just going to keep it to one decimal place, so 1.7. If on your check-in you get a weird number, make sure you look to the directions to see what you should round it to. In this case, it would say round to the nearest tenth, since we only wanted one decimal place. Median, we're going to cross off from left to right, or sorry, one from the left, one from the right, until we get to the middle. Notice how I'm crossing off underneath the numbers because I want to still be able to see those numbers in case they ask me to do something else with them later. We're left with 2 numbers in the middle. We add them up, divide it by 2. Our median is going to be 1.5. Mode is going to be the number that occurs the most. I would refer back up to your graph in order to find this. The number that occurs the most is going to have the most dots. So in this case, the number that occurs the most is 1. Identify the shape of distribution. Let's make that little curvy to show us what this looks like. Over here we have our tail. If the tail is on the right, that means it is skewed right, because most of that data is over here on the left. All right, Number 13, fill in the frequency table for the following data. So we're just organizing this data into a frequency table. So we have a 25 that would go in this interval. 37 would go in this interval. 38 would also go in that interval. 31 goes here. 22 goes here. 35 goes here. 24, 30, 20, 40, 42. Then we'd add up those tallies. So we have 3, 1, 2, 3, 2. And that's how we do a frequency table. We just start organizing that data into intervals and how many times we have numbers within those intervals. Box and Whisker Plot. Now we need a number line. This number line has to count by equal intervals. So our min is 36, our max is 64. We are basically going to have to count from like 35 to 65. So I'd say let's just count by fives. Here we have 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70. All right, my min, I'm going to estimate about where 36 is. That's going to be right around here. Remember, I don't put those dots on the line, I put them above. My max is 64. That's going to be right around here. My Q1 is 39. That's a little bit less than 40. So this is my min, Q1, just so I don't forget max. And then I have my Q2 is at 42. That's right around here. That's my median. And then I have my Q3 is 55, right around here. All right, I'm going to draw my whiskers in first. I feel like that's the easiest way to do it. So I go for my min, into the next dot. Go for my max, into the next dot. Now I can draw my box. I draw a box around Q1 and Q3. I draw my line straight down, connect them. Connect them. Then my Q2, I just draw a line straight down my Q2. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Notice how like 36 is not on my number line. That's okay, but I have a spot where 36 would go, and that is where I put my dot. Number 15, consider the following data set of home runs into center field in 12 ballparks. Order from least to greatest is going to be our first step. 53 is our smallest. Then I have 66. Then 68. No more 60s. I have 72, 74, 77, 82, 86, 88, 91, 93, 100. What I'm going to do now is count up how many numbers I had in that list and make sure I have the same amount of numbers here. That's just a quick little check to make sure I didn't forget any. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. Find the mean, median, mode, and range. Mean. Add up all these numbers. Divide by, I just forgot, 12. Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so in our calculator, we are going to add up all those numbers. When I did that, I got 950. I always like to add them up twice just to double check. So I'm going to do that. And I got 950 again. Then I'm going to divide that by how many numbers I have in my list, which is 12. And I'm going to get 79.16 repeating. I'm going to round to the nearest whole number. So 79.1 tells me to round down to 79. Median, I'm going to be crossing off those numbers from the left and the right until I get to 1 in the middle or 2 left in the middle. I'm left with 2 left in the middle because I crossed off 5 from the left, 5 from the right. I add them up. 77 plus 82 equals 159. Then I divide that by 2 to get 79.5. Median is 79.5. My mode, that's going to be the number that occurs the most often if I'm looking through this list. The number that occurs the most often is none of them. So there is no, oops, I want that to be black. There is no mode. They all just occur once. My range, I take my max number, my biggest, minus my min. So I take 100 minus 53 in my calculator. 100 minus 53 is 47. All right, we're almost done. Last but not least, we want to find the 5-number summary. We already know the min is 53. That's just looking at that first number in the list. Our max is 100. Q2 we know is 79.5. All right, now to find Q1 and Q3 when we have two numbers in the middle. Remember, if we just had one number, like let's say 82 wasn't there, so we just have 77 in the middle, we wouldn't include it in the lower and upper groups. When we have two numbers in the middle, we include 77 with the lower group, 82 with the upper group. I like to use parentheses just to show those groups. I'm a very visual learner, so I like to do it that way. Our lower group, let's find our Q1, cross off each side until we are left with one or two numbers in the middle. We have to add them up. 68 plus 72 is 140, divided by 2 is 70. Our Q1 is 70. Then we are going to do the same thing for our Q3. Cross off each side until I am left with one or two numbers in the middle. I add 88 plus 91 is 179. I divide it by 2 is 89.5. My Q3 is 89.5. All right. Feel free at any point when you're doing these kinds of problems to double check your answers. For example, I just retyped into my calculator 88 plus 91 just to make sure that I got that right number divided by 2. Because it takes like half a second to type those back into your calculator just to make sure you're doing it right. And that is it. So that is our study guide. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or we're not sure on any of these answers. Feel free to go back to any of these answers throughout the video if you needed some clarification.